I used to be a teacher, so I'm going to give y'all assignments to do throughout this time. But it's really an honor to be here because there's so much resilience and strength and courage that lies in this room. And so I'm going to talk about 3 things today. That's self-esteem, self-care, and self-love. So, because I am a teacher, I know that everybody has their different definitions of different words. So I like to define what we're talking about so that everybody's on one page. So when we say self-esteem, we're talking about how you look at yourself, the confidence that you have in knowing your worth and your abilities. So when we say self-esteem, I want everybody to poke out your chest and put your shoulders back. So whenever you hear me say self-esteem, then we know to do this, right? Talk about self-love. So self-love is how you love on yourself, how you feel about yourself, and the happiness and the well-being. So let's just give ourselves a hug when we hear self-love, right? Self-care is an action, right? How do we take care of ourselves? How do we go forward and make sure that we preserve our well-being, our mental well-being? How do we take care of our physical well-being? So when we think about self-care, let's just take a deep breath and just let things out, right? So self-care. All right, here we go. We're going to practice self-esteem, self-love, and self-care. All right. Those are the foundations for healing. And so we're going to get into that. But I like to start with some statistics. So a study from the American Psychological Association found that 50% of individuals who experience high level of family conflict report negative effects on their mental health, including stress, anxiety, and depression. The Dove self-esteem, you got it. The Dove Self-Esteem Project found that 85% of women and girls worldwide experience a decline in self-esteem due to negative body image, criticism, and toxic relationships. And over 60% reporting that toxic influences, such as judgment from others, directly impacted their ability to practice self-love. And the National Domestic Violence Hotline discovered that 1 in 3 women in the United States experience some form of physical or sexual violence or stalking by an intimate partner that lasting effects on their emotional and mental well-being. What does that tell you? You are not alone in what you experience. Right. But what the stats do not tell us is that the number of women who survive toxicity. It doesn't tell us about the number of women who find their power after going through violence and abuse. It doesn't tell us about the women who go on to transform their lives despite all that they've experienced. And that's the number I want you to focus on because that's the number that you are becoming. So I'm Dr. Porscha Jackson, go by Dr. PJ because I just like my initials and just sound cool, right? And I'm a consultant and as well as an advocate for marginalized individuals, helping them to champion for themselves in finding methods to ascension. So my latest project was a book that I wrote, and it's called It's Me, Not You, How I Survive Toxic Work Environments. And you feel that? And through that book, I shared my experiences of various different jobs that I had that produced toxic work environments and how it left me feeling broken, how it left me feeling powerless, unpretty, and just down. And so it wasn't until I began to share my stories with my family and my friends, because they was like, I didn't know that you were going through that. But sometimes as women, we always are suffering in silence. We keep things to ourselves because we don't think that other people need to know it, or we're like, I'm gonna get through it. I don't want the pity. But no, we need to share those stories and get it out because there's other people that's going through it. And if you can't produce that and you can't get that out, you won't receive that support because nobody knows what you're going through. So I began to share with my family and friends what I was going through, and they began to support me. And if you have those family and friends, like I had one friend, and she was like, "Oh no, they're doing what to you? You want me to come down there?" You know? And she was like, "When you walk into that next job, when you walk into them, you let them know who you are. Because you were there for a reason. They hired you. You have the experience. You go in there." And so just from people telling my story and having that support and people saying, it doesn't matter how they're treating you. You know exactly who you are. You walk in that room as if you own that room. And I don't know if y'all watch reality shows, but I'm addicted to it. And I love Real Housewives of Potomac. And there's a character, or a lady, I shouldn't say a character, but there's a lady on there, Giselle, and one of her taglines was, a couple years ago, was, "I'm the baddest thing walking when I walk into the room." And sometimes we have to do that. We have to say, "I'm the baddest thing walking in here. I'm going in here to do this. I don't care if anybody else, the way they're going to act, that's fine, but I'm the baddest thing walking in here." And so I just want you to remember that and take that as you go through these different environments, through toxic relationships and through toxic environments and workspaces, social spaces. If you've ever been in groups, unfortunately, you know, I've been in a sorority, and that can be one of the toxic, one of the most toxic, because sometimes as women, I don't know what happens, but we don't support each other as we should. So, so I made the decision when I was in those toxic work environments to do three things, and that was to perceive my situation of what is actually going on here. Don't be in denial about what it is. And then also to protect myself, to begin to set boundaries of how people treated me. Also how I interacted with those people. Sometimes if you know somebody is negative, I can't spend a lot of time with you, okay, just going to be cordial and I'm going to walk on out, right? And then also to pivot. Find new things for me to do. Find new areas and new environments that realize my value and what I'm bringing to the table. And so through that, I was able to found my organization. It's a 501c3. It's called Successful Shoes. I love shoes. When I was growing up, my grandma she was a diva. And so she always had these shoes. My mom would let me play in her shoes. My grandma loved it, right? We could play in her shoes, put on her wigs, her furs, her jewelry. And so I started thinking, what can I do at that point to leave a legacy for myself, but also involve my friends. And one thing that I noticed that with all my friends, we connected on shoes. And it was just how you felt. And I began to think about when I was putting on my grandma's high heels, and there was this favorite pair, they were black suede. They had like this gold flower that came on the heel and it went all the way down on the stiletto. And I started thinking, when I put those shoes on, how I felt. I had that self-esteem, and I began to love myself, self-love. And so I wanted to bring that to other women, to say, hey, here's women who have created success for themselves. They've been on that journey, so we're going to pass that on to be supportive to other women. So we collect shoes from successful women. A lot of them are brand new shoes. Some are gently worn, but what we're doing is saying we want you to walk in the path of success that's already been outlined for you. So with Successful Shoes, we've been doing that for over 10 years, and it's so great. When we see the different shoes, I mean, we get all kinds of shoes. So I just want to encourage everybody, if you ever have shoes and you're like, you know what, I can't wear these shoes anymore, you want to just bless somebody else, that's an environment that you can do that.
Okay.
And so what I believe is this: self-esteem, self-love, and self-care are not luxuries. They are necessities. As women, society has kind of trained us to put others in front of ourselves. But ideally, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You got to pour from the overflow. So take the time to always invest in yourself and pour into yourself so that you can be all who you need to be, because you have to understand that your life, number one, matters. So you heard me talk about my book, It's Me, Not You, but I've also developed an accountability method, a self-accountability method called It's Me, Not You. And it covers the 3 P's: perceive, protect, and pivot. So perceive is acknowledge your truth. See the situation for what it is, and not for what you want it to be. And that is the first step to healing, is having clarity. 2 is to protect, to set those boundaries, to protect your space, your energy, and your emotions. Whenever you see something and it has a fence, what is that doing? It's protecting. What does that mean? There's something valuable on the inside, right? There's something precious on the inside that they don't want others to infiltrate. So that's why they have a fence. So I want you to begin to set your boundaries. Put that boundary, because you are valuable. You are fragile. You are worthy, and you need to protect that. And so one of the ways that we can protect that is by setting the boundaries, but also cutting off toxic behaviors, toxic people, toxic environments, toxic relationships, and seeking out help, whether it's therapy or whether it's simply just saying no. Can we all just say that?
No.
1, 2, 3.
No.
Yes, that's right. No is a small word, but it is a powerful word. It is not a bad word. I think we are conditioned sometimes to think that no is a bad word. When we were kids, every time we do something, what are we told? No. Right. When we go into the store, no. Don't ask for nothing when you go into that store. No. But no is not a bad word. It's actually our protector. Then it's pivot. Take action to move into a new direction. Whether it's going back to school, whether it's starting a new job, whether it's reigniting a passion that you have that you haven't been able to develop. You want to make sure that you are pivoting in a new direction that serves you and being in environments that serve you and protect you. So right now I want for you to take a moment, whether you are writing or you put things on your phone or you got one of those memories that you can just put it in your head. I want you to begin to make a power list. So think about 3 words, 3 things that make you powerful. Is that your kindness? Is that your resilience? Is it your smile? What are 3 things that make you powerful? Would anybody like to share? Even if you just have that one thing.
My mindset.
Your mindset, okay. Anybody else?
I have 2. Resilience and experience.
Forgiveness.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Yeah. What else?
My personality, my passion, and the grace that I give.
Yes. Understood. Good. So everyone else, I want you to think about your 3 things. That is your power list. So every morning when you wake up, before you go to bed, you know that your power lies in those 3 things, right? And then I want everybody to say with me, I'm worthy.
I'm worthy.
I am strong.
I am strong.
And I'm choosing me.
And I am choosing me.
Okay, so that declaration I want to sink in. So when you go home tonight, and before you go to bed, I want you to remember those things. And so when you're standing in front of that mirror, don't leave that mirror until you can confidently say to yourself, I believe those things. Repeat your power list and know that every time you walk out into something, you have the power. Before you go to bed, reaffirm that to yourself, that you have the power. And that will help you to build your self-esteem. That will lead to your self-love and your self-care. All right. And so I want to leave with you this. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not weak. Your experience has made you wise. And you are not alone. You are part of this sisterhood that we all contribute and lift up each other. Who will rise and rise again.